Okay, back to working on the Alice here. If I can't find it, I did an intro video on this a couple months ago. We had a warm spell. I started looking it over. Did a video to show where all the hoses and everything connect. It is an Alice Chalmers 7045. I think these run about 150 horsepower, give or take. Problem with last fall, we was running it, and we got to the field, hooked up a wagon, went to go, it wouldn't move, nothing. It'll start, engine will run fine, but there's nothing, no hydraulic, no PTO, no drive. So we brought it home, pulled a starter on it. We knew the flywheel must have been intact. You can see that hole right there. You see them teeth, that's the flywheel, that's where the starter engages. That's the starter here. That's a good starter. See the gear there on the end. Head starts and engages, so we knew that the flywheel was okay, but there's a pressure plate behind it, just like a regular clutch, but it doesn't disengage. It's just more of a shock absorber between the engine and the drivetrain. So you ain't tearing up the engine if you dump the clutch hard. So we got this little toy here I'm borrowing from my nephew. We're gonna take a peek in behind there, see if we can see what's going on in there. It's a camera. I guess you can hook to it. There's a little thing there, you can unplug that and plug in a video camera, I guess, if you wanted to. But we'll turn this on. There's a little screen, little buttons here, make it brighter. See, there's a light on the end of the wand, and it's all flexible. So get this bent around here, work it in here. It's that flashlight up here somewhere. So you can see in there. Well, try to worm this around in here and see what I can see. I'm starting to look at the pressure plate. I don't know how well you can make that out. Wish I could twist the angle. This is kind of tricky to maneuver because when you move to the left it goes to the right, because I got it swung around. But if you can see right there, that's pieces broken there. There's supposed to be springs in there, and I don't see any of them. See what else I can see. I lost my angle here. Trying to look at the camera screen, it's looking at this other screen. Here's the input shaft, or the output shaft from the transmission into this thing. And there's like all kind of pieces down in that one. That one's chewed up pretty good. Too close or too far from something. There's another big crack. I ain't seeing any of the springs that's supposed to be in any of these holes. I think she's just broke loose. There's supposed to be some bolts around the edge here, but I can't get the right angle to see if they're still there. And what are we looking at here? Oop, as far as I can turn it. Looking around the back side, I definitely see a lot of damage in this thing. You can see it in there. There's supposed to be springs right there, I think. I don't know exactly how this one works. Some of them are different. But we definitely got pieces, parts, and damage in there, so pretty sure we found out where our problem is. Now we're just going to have to split this. So okay, we got the tractor split apart. Got a bunch of jack stands. We got that big old huge jack there, but it doesn't jack anymore. So we just put a bottle jack on there, jacked up underneath the bottom there. Got some blocks there in case it settles. I got jack stands because that jack does set a little bit, so we'll just set on that jack stand tonight. Okay, here's the problem. Now, I'll get my flashlight here. Let me set it right down in there. How does that work? There we go. This thing here, this is like a clutch, but it doesn't disengage when you push the pedal in. It's more of just a slip clutch. There's a safety precaution between the engine and transmission, so if you dump the clutch quick or torque really hard, it doesn't break your engine. Well, if you see that mess, them are all springs that are supposed to be, well, let me see. This piece here, this is supposed to be attached to that piece there. Them springs all go in here around somehow or another as a little shock absorbing torque thing. And you can see that's mangled. That's all just bent. That's what these little tabs, the springs are going to go from one to the other. So now we know what the problem is. That's a cheap fix. Well, not real cheap, but better than a transmission that we thought it was going to be. Okay, now I just got to take all these bolts here, pull all these out, and this all comes out. This is the flywheel, and then there's a pressure plate, and then there's a disc in there, like a clutch disc. Get that tore apart, I'll lay it all out, show you what it looks like. I don't think I'm going to do that tonight. I think I'll wait till tomorrow. It's getting late, I got to load feed. Alright, well, pulling these bolts out. The problem you can see is they're torqued pretty heavy, and when you try to pull them out, you turn the whole engine. So one thing you could do is use an impact wrench, but I don't have an air compressor down here in the shop at the time. So let me show you how I'm doing this. Hopefully you can see it. Find somewhere I can prop you up here. That'll work. Put your breaker bar on there. Get yourself a good dead blow hammer. A couple of good blows. Just like an impact wrench. See that? Loosen them right up. And another one here. Yeah. I'll get the rest of them out and I'll show you what we got. Now, I don't know how well you can see it, but this here, this big ring right here, that's a spring. It's concave dish. And then you got these bolts. Get them in focus here. You got this bolts with a lock washer, and then this big heavy steel thing like it looks like a top hat. And where them go in, I don't know how well you can see that. There's a little notch right there. There you get it. Yeah, there you can see it good there. And that bolt goes in, and this top hat fits in that notch and keeps this part from turning. And then the disc in here, I'll show you when I get out. But this spring here, when you torque these down all the way, it pushes on the spring. And that spring's what puts the pressure on the clutch. There you have it. Pieces, parts. See, this is your flywheel. That's the surface the disc rubs against. That's all part of the part that broke out. This is that spring. You can see how it's kind of concaved. This is the other half of your clutch part. And then you got your disc. This thing's fairly new too. This shouldn't have gave out. Them pads ain't hardly wore at all. And let me find my other part here. That part goes right on there. It was all one unit. And then there was springs in here, and then there was tabs somehow in here. So this had kind of a shock to it. And then this is what it is. Them springs all busted and pieces, parts flew. So I guess this will end part one. When we get a new one of these, I'll have part two assembling it back together. Thanks for watching. Beautiful day.